students, welcome back to your channel Study Shastra. In this video, you are going to learn about Indian economy at the time period of 1950 to 1990 about the agriculture sector. If you have to learn about the Indian economy at the eve of independence or want to learn about the 5-year goals plans, you can go to our description and learn about that. There were 2 videos for that already there. Now, let's study about the agriculture sector. Students, as you all know that after the independence we were not that much efficient and India was an underdeveloped economy which doesn't have any much amount of resources to utilize properly due to limited resource or due to lack of capital. The policymakers of independent India had to address these issues, which they did through the bringing of land reforms in the economy and promoting the use of high yield variety seeds, which help the farmers to grow their agriculture sector more drastically. Land reforms have been very important part of the agriculture sector. There were continuously abolishment of intermediaries. At the time of independence, the land tenure system was characterized by intermediaries called zamindars or jagirdars, who merely collected the rent from the actual tillers of the soil without contributing towards the improvement on the farmlands. And this led to the low productivity of agriculture sector, which forced India to import food from other countries or from other foreign countries such as USA. This brings a need to change in the agriculture sector, and this came arises in land reforms. After this, there is a problem of equity in the agriculture sector. Equity in agriculture called for land reforms, which primarily refer to a change in the ownership of land. So there were tenancy reforms, there were land consolidations, land ceilings, and development of various cooperative farmings and reorganization of the agriculture sector. These factors were taken considered while forming the land reforms. Just a year after independence, we can definitely see that steps were taken to abolish these intermediaries and to make the tillers the actual owners of the land. There were no one who can take the rent from them. The idea behind this move was that ownership of land would give incentives to the tillers to invest in making improvement and increase their capital available to them. Land ceiling is also a very important factor for the land reforms. It was another policy to promote equity in the agriculture sector. This means that there should be a maximum size of land which could be owned by an individual, and the purpose of land ceiling was to reduce the concentration of land ownership in few hands. Some has more amount of land, some has a few, and this brings an inequality, and this brings the income to differ. The abolition of intermediaries meant that some 200 lakh tenants came into direct contact with the government, and they were thus freed from being exploited by zamindars as they do not have to pay any kind of rent to them. The ownership conferred on tenants gave them the incentive to increase the output, and this contributed the growth in the agriculture sector thoroughly. However, the goal of equity was not fully served by abolishing of intermediaries, because at that time period there was not that much amount of reach so that everyone get that proper focusedness or proper government schemes to implement by themselves due to poor resources or due to lack of knowledge. In some areas, the former zamindars continued to own large areas of land by making use of some loopholes in the legislation, and there were cases where tenants were evicted and the landowners claimed to self-cultivators, and now they can get their penny by themselves. The land selling legislation also faced hurdles. The big landlords challenged the legislation in a courts, delay their implementation. They used this delay to register their land in the name of close relatives, thereby escaping from legislation. The legislation also had a lot of loopholes which were exploited by big landholders to retain their land, and the land reforms were successful in every state, though not properly, but a good amount of. Unfortunately, other states did not have the same level of commitment due to vast inequality or amount of poverty or amount of various economic factors. After independence, in the time period of 1955, there came a most important revolution, that is Green Revolution. The stagnation in agriculture during the colonial rule was permanently broken by the Green Revolution, and this refers to increasing or large increase in the production of food grains resulting from the use of high yield variety seeds, which are good quality seeds used for growing wheat and rice. The use of these seeds required the use of fertilizers and pesticides in a good amount. With the help of some water and the applications of input, they can grow. The farmers who could benefit from HYV seeds required reliable irrigation facilities as well as the financial resource to purchase fertilizers and pesticides. As a result, the first phase of Green Revolution grows very well, and the use of HYV seed was restricted to more affluent states such as Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Further, the use of HYV seeds primarily benefited the wheat growing regions only. Now, at independence, about 70% of the country population was dependent on agriculture. So, this brings a need to bring a revolution in the agriculture sector because at that time productivity was very low. The lands was under the control of zamindars or intermediaries. There is not any kind of land ceilings or land reforms which help the normal citizens to prevent themselves from the intermediaries. So this process is very much needed. In the second phase of Green Revolution in the mid 1970s to mid 1980s, the HYY technology spread to a large number of states, and because of its good impact on the lands, everyone wanted to purchase them to grow good amount of crops, and the spread of Green Revolution technology enabled India to achieve self-sufficiency in food grains. India no longer had to import any kind of food product from other countries, and growth in agriculture output is important, but it is not enough because we have other sectors as well. If a large proportion of this increase is consumed by farmers themselves instead of being sold in the market, then higher output will not make much of a difference to the economy as a whole. If, on the other hand, a substantial amount of agriculture produce is sold in the market by the farmer, the higher output can make a difference to them. This proportion of agricultural production which is sold in the market by the farmer is called marketed surplus, and a good proportion of rice and wheat produced during the Green Revolution period was sold by farmers in the market. As a result, price of food grains declined relative to the other items of the consumption, and the low income groups who spend a large percentage of their income on food benefit from this decline in relative prices, and thus Green Revolution enabled the government to produce sufficient amount of food grains to build a stock which could be used in times of food storage. In fact, government also used to take those excess of food in their buffer stocks to help the needy at the time of uncertainty such as natural calamities or any other uncertainty. Now, the debate over the subsidies. We gently able to know that the economic justification of subsidies in agriculture is at present and a debated topic. So, why there is a debate over that topic is we have to adopt the new technology, by the way. So, by the late 1960s, Indian agriculture productivity had increased sufficiently to enable the country to be self-reliant in terms of food grains. This is an achievable position, but on the other side, there is also a negative side that 65% of country's population continued to be employed in agriculture till 1990. And the economists have found that as a nation become more prosperous, the proportion of GDP contributed by agriculture as well as its other sectors were declined considerably. In India, between 1915 and 1990, the proportion of GDP contributed by agriculture declines significantly, but not the population depending on it. The population keeps on increasing, and this brings a debatable topic over here. Now, Why was such a large proportion of population engages in agriculture? Although agriculture output could have grown with much less people working in the sector. So the answer is very clear that we have other sectors as well, such as industrial and the service sector, and they did not absorb the people working in agriculture sector because of some special skills, as industrial sector requires skilled labors and service sector required skilled educated peoples. So many economists call this an important failure of policies followed during 1950s to 1990. I hope you understand about the whole topic so briefly. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel.